going to learn how to do the 3-needle bind off. And this is sometimes used with an infinity scarf or a cowl. And if you look at the provisional cast on video, it gives you some examples of that. And so this is a piece of work that I have done with the provisional cast on, and now we're going to use the 3-needle bind off to connect it. But first I want to show you another example. You also sometimes use this to connect 2 pieces of a garment together. So this is the top of a poncho that I knit in 2 pieces, and then you put it together. And you can see how nice and even the 3-needle bind off is. It's just very smooth and lovely in the work. So that's what we're going to learn today. As the name implies, you need 3 needles. So one tip before you get started is that if you only have a pair of needles in your correct size, then you can use 1 needle size smaller, and you would use that to pick up the stitches from the provisional end. Okay, so if you have 3 that are the same size, that's ideal. But if not, your fallback plan is you can use 1 size smaller to pick up these stitches as we take out this provisional cast on. So first we're going to do that, and you want to pull out the end that you ended with. Okay, so I always suggest tying a little knot on the end that you used with your first slip knot, and you're not using that end. You're going to go to the other end. And first you're going to just untie very easily. You just pull out that last loop, and then it will just unravel from there as you pull each stitch out. Okay, but importantly, you don't want to let those stitches go. So these are now live stitches from your work, and you need to pick them back up onto a needle. So you're going to very carefully pull each one out, and you want to think about seating your stitches correctly, right? So on the knitting needle, always you want to sit like this, where the front leg of the stitch goes to the right and the back goes to the left. So think about that as you're picking up these stitches. And as you pull out each stitch, you just pick that one up onto your needle. All the way across. That one was tricky. And then there's kind of this last one. There we go. Okay, so now you have 2 needles. If you were, so this is like an imaginary little mini scarf or cowl. If you were doing 2 different garments, you would have 2 completely separate pieces with live stitches on each, ideally the same number of live stitches on each side. And one of them still needs to have the working end, the working yarn attached. Okay. So first you join these together, you line them up by placing the right sides of the fabric together. So the wrong sides of the fabric will be facing out. And you want your working yarn coming off to the right. So actually using double pointed needles for this is a handy practice for sure. Okay, so now you're going to use your 3rd needle, and this is the needle that needs to be in the size of your pattern, or actually it could be 1 size bigger if you needed. So if you wanted to cheat, you could use 1 size smaller for one of these 2, the one that had just picked up the stitches, and you could use 1 size bigger for this one. Now you're just going to knit them together. So you're going to go into the first stitch as if to knit, and then go into the stitch on that back needle as if to knit. Wrap the yarn around and pull through both like you're going to knit them together, and you pull both those loops off. Okay, then you do it again. Okay, so through the front, through the second one, get yarn, knit those 2 together, pull both of them off. Now you've got 2. So now you're just going to do a normal bind off. I usually use this back needle from my left hand. You're going to pick up that back stitch and pull it over and off the needle on the right. Okay. And then you just continue like that. So we're going to do one more, insert in the front loop, insert in the back, yarn over, pull it through, pull both off, and then pick up that back stitch, and pull it up and off. And you're just going to continue like that all the way across. All right, so here I am with my last stitch. Pull it over. And as usual, we'll then cut it off, leaving some room to sew that in. Pull through a little bit, and then I take that long end and I put it through that last loop and just pull it out. And then I would weave in, this is my starting yarn, and this is my ending one that I just used to bind off. This is from the wrong side. I would weave both of those in on this wrong side. And if you turn it over, you can see you get a very beautiful, almost invisible seaming that would be nice and tidy and not very bulky at all for on your cowl or infinity scarf or some other perhaps garment that you're working on similar to my poncho. So that's how you do the 3 needle bind off.